without glue. We're going to be finding everything out about these recipes, if they work, how they work, and what ingredients you can use at home to make them. This week's notification squad shoutouts go to Ioma Wade, BTS Candy, Yomi Milk Tea, and also Emma Grants. For today's giveaway, I'll be sending off this slime package to somebody that follows the giveaway rules, but first, before I tell you guys the rules, let me show you guys what is in it. If you would like to get the chance to have this package sent to you, all you have to do is subscribe, like the video, comment below, and then watch till the very end without skipping. For the moment we've all been waiting for, testing the cup slime. So we're going to find out everything about this recipe. We're going to be finding out what cups work, how the slime is, how thick it is, if it's sticky, if it even works. So let's just get straight into it. Starting off, I'm going to cut the parts of the cup that have a logo on it and also the lip of the cup because I think those parts of it will be hard to melt. Also, I'm not sure if you guys can see in the background, but I got a little drink, so you guys should go get a drink or a snack too, so we can just sit back and relax and figure out everything about this recipe together. And I'm also just going to cut it in half so that it is one straight piece, so that when we melt it, everything will get melted. Okay guys, so now for our first test, I'm going to go get some boiling hot water and we're going to pour it on our cups to see what happens. So let's see what happens. I'm super excited because I've also always wondered why plastic cups say don't put hot drinks in them. So we're going to see if this will actually melt. I'm just going to use my fork to fully submerge the cup in the hot water so that it melts more thoroughly, but I think already I can tell it's melting because it's getting a lot looser and it feels very bendy and soft. Okay, I think I'm just going to pull this out to see how it is for our first round of testing this. So as you guys can see, it has melted very well in some spots, and I honestly was not expecting it to melt to begin with, so I'm very happy, but it's definitely not at a point at all where it's a putty yet, so I'm going to put this back into our water. I think that when the plastic curves from the hot water, it isn't exposed enough, so it only melts on the outside. That is why I feel like this piece was kind of a fail, because there's not much putty on it, but I am happy to see at least that this recipe is starting to work, because you guys can see we have our first little piece of slime. I let the plastic sit in the bowl of water for another probably 15 minutes. The first round, I only let it sit in there for like 2 minutes before we pulled it out. But this time, you guys can see we had much more of a thorough melt, and I was able to gather a bigger piece off of it. I'm very impressed with how clear it is, and it also has this very lightweight feeling, but it is very thick, so that's something very different from a normal slime. But there's a little elephant in the room that we need to address, and that is the fact that obviously it was able to melt, so that means if it cools down again, it's probably going to dry. So we're going to let this sit for about 10 minutes and we're going to see how the texture is, if it's fully cooled down, and we'll see how long we can play with this before it's dried out. Guys, I'm talking to you guys live, not over voiceover, just so I can see my live reaction if this hardened up, but it looks more white. Do you guys see that? It's a little bit more white and less transparent. It still feels a little bit bendable, but you guys can definitely see it hardened up a bit. I'm going to put a before right here, and then this is the after of the texture, so we can see if it actually kind of dried out. It's only been about 2 minutes since I let this sit, but you guys can see it's definitely hardened out. But we're gonna test in a little bit to see if when we put it back into some hot water, if it will turn back into slime. Also, let's check on this piece for a second. So as you guys can see, like right here, it has melted a lot more. like that, and then like right here, it looks partially melted as well. You guys can see that, but I don't know why there's certain parts that just won't melt, like the ends of it, I've noticed. Hey guys, so I'm currently editing this and I've watched back all the footage and I realized why the ends of it were not melting, and that's because when I was using the fork to submerge the plastic in the water, the end of it was always sticking out of the hot water, so it never had the chance to melt. But where it starts to curve, it will melt a lot more. Do you guys see that? Okay, so now for the moment of truth, I'm boiling some more hot water so we can see if we put this dried up piece of putty back in the hot water, if it will turn back into putty. So we'll see. If you guys look closely, you can see that it's instantly turning clear again in front of our own eyes. I'm not sure if it is actually back to its putty slime form again, but we can check it out in a second. Okay, we're gonna check this out. So, you guys can see there's still a little part that's hard, but it definitely melted again. I was honestly not quite expecting it to melt again, but I'm like, okay, if it melted from the first time of it being a cup, I feel like it could melt again. I'm not sure how many times we'd be able to do this, but it kind of actually does, though, to be honest, feel a little tougher than it did last time. Like, I'm not able to stretch it as well as the first time I did it, so I don't know if it's just drying out. And it feels, the one interesting thing about this is it feels very light, kind of. I don't know, it's weird. Like, it's thick, but it's light. Yeah, that's weird. From the matcha that I was drinking earlier, the cup it came in says it's 100% compostable and derived from corn, so I could also turn this one into slime. The only problem with this is it has a lot of text on it, so I don't know how well. But yeah, I thought this was super, super interesting. If you guys want me to test some non-compostable cups, like the common ones, like for instance, a Starbucks cup or just different plastic ones, I can also try it out, but I really don't think it's gonna melt because this is just normal plastic, and this type of plastic is also not compostable. Okay guys, so for the next recipe, we're gonna be testing out a recipe from one of you guys, and this was a recipe to make no-glue slime out of honey, so let's see if this works. So in case some of you guys didn't believe me that this is honey and that this is not like some glue or something, I'm gonna eat a little bit. It's honey. Okay, back to the recipe. So starting off, all the recipe says is to mix even amounts of honey and shampoo together and then add a little bit of water. So that is of course what we're gonna do right now because we wanna make a slime. So we have our first two ingredients in the bowl, but now we're supposed to add 1/2 teaspoon of water into this mixture. So that is very specific. The one weird thing about this is it doesn't say how much honey and shampoo you're supposed to add, but it has a specific amount of water. So I don't know how well I'm following the recipe from the comment that you guys left. Now I thought it would be cute to just let it clear up in the little honey bear container. So earlier I had just previously poured out all the honey into that little jar that you guys saw earlier. But I'm going to put this back into the honey bear. I was finally able to get all of the slime in the little bear container. It took a long time and it's a little messy, but I'm gonna just check back in with you guys once it's fully cleared up. So here's how our honey slime turned out. Because the slime has such a thin texture, it did not take long at all for it to clear up, but halfway through the clearing up process, I decided to add a little brown food coloring into it because it cleared up as a yellowy color. The slime was very sticky because obviously when you make slime and honey, two of like the stickiest things ever together, you can kind of expect it to be sticky, but I made an amazing ASMR for you guys. I ordered a little honeycomb from Amazon because I've always wanted to do a honeycomb ASMR, so enjoy those clips. For the last slime recipe today, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make slime out of dish soap and also some ice. So let's get into it. First thing you guys are going to be needing is a nice big bowl of ice. Starting off, I'm going to just sprinkle a little bit of salt into our bowl of ice. This is going to help lower the temperature of the ice so it's extra cold for when we put our slime in. And now I'm just going to give everything a nice stir. Now just place a small dish of dish soap into your ice. I'm using the classic Blue Dawn dish soap, but you can try this with any dish soap. I'd recommend testing out a little bit of your dish soap before making a big batch so that you don't waste any dish soap. And now just sprinkle a little bit of salt into your dish soap, add a little bit at a time, and then just give it a mix and you're going to start seeing your slime form. If your slime is still a little bit sticky, add a little bit more salt into your dish soap. Make sure you're not adding in too much, because if you add too much salt, it will actually melt your dish soap and it will never form a slime. Now I'm sure everyone's wondering how the slime is when you play with it, so I'm going to show you guys right now. You don't have to do this, but I decided to let my slime sit overnight so everything would kind of melt and become a little bit more uniform. It will make your slime a little bit more sticky, but it definitely will still be holdable. Because the slime is made out of dish soap, you're going to have a little bit more of a